only and his guests are not responsible for any losses you may accrue for having weak hands. Where the haters at? Yeah, bitches still ain't showed up. And now, right, we got Hex, flawless uptime. People thought this was a joke. Now they're mad at the chart. This is Whales Only. Glad you guys can make it out. I'm making some claims that are pretty outlandish, but I can back them up. Boom. End of story. There is no other crypto out there, so don't get it twisted. If you don't understand where you're parking your money, you're gonna pay the consequences for that, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. Boom. We're obliterating everybody, literally. There is nobody else that comes close to what Hex has done. Boom. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest. Yep. That's it. Yep. That's the secret. The guy well told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. These motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. Man, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all's deep. Everybody. My God. Hex-Asians, bro. Everybody. Australians, man. Everybody gets me. Yo, when is it told you? Dollar told you. Everybody done told you. It's crazy. Yo, what up, Hexico? Happy Sunday to all out there. And in about 40 minutes, we'll be seeing, and of course, happy 420 to whoever is in that time zone. Now, me personally, it's always 420, so I'm not worried about that type of shit. But within 41 minutes, there's an echo. All right, let me unplug and replug back in. Hold on. Let me know if that sounds good. Anyway, about 40 minutes, we're going to officially be 1,000 days in. Officially. Once the clock rolls over to 1,001, we can officially claim 1,000 days of flawless operation. And we're still waiting for the rug pull, the Ponzi to happen, and what else? I can't even remember all of the lies at this point. But we're still waiting for victims, the scam. We're still waiting. So happy 1,000 days to those of you that did your due diligence. Exercise your ability to read. Exercise your ability to do some math. And exercise your ability to just, not be retarded, which is very difficult in the 21st century. It was difficult in the 20th, but I'll tell you what, I didn't think it was possible for them to up it in 2021. But I mean, I'll tell you what, I really underestimated the power of HEX.LIVE vision, right? Really underestimated the power of that. Because like I've said many times before, I left for like 10 years, came back, and I don't know what the hell happened. This is not the place I left. So I'm not part of society in a lot of ways. I don't subscribe to a lot of shit people subscribe to in 2022. Never gonna. And that's a function of the 10 years of brainwashing that I missed. Right? Because I wasn't living here for that long or whatever you want to call it, right? I wasn't in this society for that long. So to my benefit and to a lot of people's detriment. Because if you don't know how to think for yourself, right, you end up taking the death jab and shit. I mean, you see people dropping left and right every day. So that thing is apparently a ticking time bomb because bodies just keep dropping and flopping. I don't know. It's crazy out here. But 1,000 days, we're still waiting. I don't know when these people with all of this information that can't be found are going to actually present us with some valid information, showing us that, all their lies are in fact. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not really holding my breath. And this is why we're just getting paid, and they're still trying to figure out what the hell is next. I mean, these people don't even realize they're not in crypto, right? I mean, that's step number one is not denying what the problem is or acknowledging what the problem is, right? A lot of these people, they too busy believing the lies to acknowledge what is actually going on. I mean, they've all been scammed and they don't even realize it. They're too busy believing the hype. I mean, how many times are you going to buy a rug pull from the same character? How many times are you going to watch the same character that promotes a rug pull? Right? And these are the things we need to think about as a community because we don't actually want those people here. They're incapable of learning. So them coming to buy Hex isn't really doing us any favors per se, because odds are they're gonna sell it on a double and not even stake the shit. Because they're incapable of wanting to learn. They need to get left behind. Whether we like it or not. It just doesn't matter. Because ultimately, they're gonna leave anyway before they even figure out what's going on. So why waste the time? It's just adding friction to the system. In reality, right? That's a lack of efficiency. That's a person that's inefficient. Because they're too busy thinking of the now and not thinking of the long-term game plan and not generating wealth on a 100% return on one trade. Like you're just not doing that. You generate wealth over time, and that includes a lot of compoundings, right? A lot of doublings, not just one. And this is something that's very difficult for people to understand. Even within the community, right? You see people that claim to be hexagons, but they're not because they still don't get staking. They don't get it. They still don't get it. 1,000 days in, I'm talking about people that were here before me, still don't get it. Motherfuckers have been following Richard Hart since 2017, still don't get it. So, if you understand the power of staking and why you need to be staked and all of these other things, congratulations, and I commend you for understanding and figuring out what most dare not. Because everybody wants to be clicking. And as I said many times before, there's a difference between speculating and investing. I'm not talking about speculating. So if you can't differentiate those two items, then you are the problem, not me. Right? Because you got to understand what the mission is. Right? You got to understand what your objective is. Why are you engaged in crypto? Why are you doing anything with your money or your fiat unit of account, your Federal Reserve notes, or whatever the respective currency is called within your jurisdiction? Right? Why are you doing this? That's the first question you got to ask. Ask and answer yourself. Because if you're just doing it to buy some sneakers or a car or some dumb shit like that, well, you're not going to really find much success. You might get lucky because we all do. Hell, I got lucky. But why are you here? You got to know that, right? That's really the first thing you got to figure out about anything you're doing. Because you're going to drop the ball. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to think you know what you're doing when you don't. I mean, this is all part of learning, right? Regardless of the subject. This is how it works, right? I mean, if you're new and you don't really understand staking hex, do yourself the favor, stake it for a quarter, figure it out, but earn some yield in the meantime, because that's the point of hex, right? Hex is meant to replicate the Keynesian financial system that we're currently subjugated to. Now, the difference here is that in this instance, you are the primary bank, you are the primary dealer, you are the pig at the spigot getting all the inflation to dish out to whoever you want. Things to think about, because that's how our current financial system works. Middlemen find a way to extract value from you based on providing no service whatsoever, right? Nothing. If you have your money in a bank, what do you pay them for? What do they do for you? They actually do nothing. In fact, they hold your money hostage for you. And you get charged unless there's some type of agreement where if you have X amount of dollars, right, you don't get charged a fee. And if you don't have those dollars there, you're paying a fee, right? We've all had regular banks that do that. And those banks typically suck, because what happens is that they're actually looking to try to find ways to exact fees off of people, right? Uh, and in the way that they do it is with the overdraft fee. That's the easiest way for these banks to do it. I mean, they make billions of dollars off of low income folks that can't keep $100 in their bank account and always overdraft. They make billions and billions off of people with that issue. I remember when I was 18 and trying to figure out what these fools were doing with the way they book transactions. I mean, I was going overdraft all the time and having to call these banks and saying, yo, my money is there, because they were just doing what they wanted to do. And if you don't know, right, you're going to get left behind. A lot of people just get left behind because they don't know they can fight that, because they don't bother educating themselves. They just let the system do what it do. And that's exactly why we're here, because everybody's just cool with letting the system do what it do, right? And as you guys know, my sole purpose in my streaming is educating people on what's going on and why it's happening and what you're missing, right? This has been my sole thing. Like I've been the person educating everybody on everything, financial and above, right? Geopolitics, politics, whatever. I'm the person that brought all that shit to the table in this community because nobody even wanted to talk about it. It was taboo. It was so taboo that I even considered doing an alternate Twitter account. And then I said, fuck that. These motherfuckers got to learn. So when you see nondescript individuals that are literally perpetrating a fraud online in a public forum, trying to tell you what's what in matters they have no knowledge of nor understanding on, I mean, there's very few people I actually see in this community educating anybody on any matters financial. So I kind of find it funny. I find it very funny when I see people that watch these my streams engage in clowns that are straight lying and don't know anything about what they're talking about and are perpetrating a fraud on top of that. How do you listen to somebody that's perpetrating a fraud? Curious on that one. You might want to check yourself before you get left behind. A lot of people perpetrating a lot of frauds out here. And if you can't tell the difference between a scammer and somebody that's not scamming you, well, you might want to look in the mirror, because you might be scamming yourself first. Might not be anybody else. Because the biggest trick the double level pulled was making people think he didn't exist. Now, the interesting thing about that quote is that it really is dense, right? The devil is something that is very metaphorical, right? And allow me to get philosophical, because you have to understand, in crypto, it's all on you. There is nobody here to hold your hand. So if you don't understand what you're doing and you're out here listening to suckers that have never shown you an ink of anything, period, and you're running around listening to them and paying attention to anything they got to say, well, it's only a matter of time before you run into that brick wall. Right? So the question ultimately becomes is why don't you know what you need to know? Why aren't you learning it? Plenty of people out here giving that information out for free. Right? Precisely. The information of the real world interacting with crypto. I mean, the thought that just the notion that people think that anybody out there knows what to do with crypto is pretty funny. I mean, you got people in this fake crypto space that don't even know they're not in crypto. You got Hexicans that don't even know what crypto is. But out there in the so-called real world, they know what crypto is and they know how to address it in all the ways that you're trying to appease the system. Y'all some funny motherfuckers out there, man. Y'all some real funny motherfuckers out there. And that's all I'll say about that. So if you happen to find yourself listening to a literal clown perpetrating a fraud online that doesn't know anything financial, but yet does nothing but speak on that, you might want to check yourself. Because you playing yourself hard body with that one. Yeah, good luck. Because you going to fucking need it. But again, right, these are the kinds of things you see. I mean, how are we going to expand crypto adoption when you got people not willing to learn? Crypto is a solo sport. That's right. And I happen to look up at the right time. Good comment. Sure the hell is a solo sport. And very few people understand that. That's why you got this rolling ticker at the bottom of my screen telling you, first most important thing, do not share private keys, a C phrase. That's the first thing you see on the scrolling ticket. Right? And there's a reason for that. And it's scrolling all stream long. Never share or expose C phrase of private keys. 99% of the issues in crypto are, well, okay, 99% of the issues in crypto are operator error, and the 1% is people using BSC. So if you ever seen anybody putting some shit out on BSC, man, you better turn around because they're not official. Funny style. Funny style. Why don't RH release something on BSC? Something to think about. Because again, we got a lot of people, even within the community, man, perpetrating a fraud. Many ways. Crypto is a solo sport. If there's something you're relying on other people's for, you better get up to speed before somebody misleads you. Because if you don't know, you're being told. And that means you don't know. That's the net. So that means you're making a decision based on some shit you don't even know anything about. That's how people get wrecked. This is how people buy tax coins, hourglass schemes, and all that. I mean, imagine buying a coin with a 20% tax. I mean, on an exit side or on any side, I mean, you go in, you ain't getting out. You're not getting out. Unless you get lucky and that thing pumps. Right? But again, this is what happens when you're speculating. So I hope that you know that delineation is clear. Because these things are very important. Because crypto is the new frontier. There is nowhere else to go. So if you happen to catch people talking about, I mean, people in on Wall Street don't have a clue. I work on Wall Street. They're still trying to figure it out. They don't have a clue. So whenever you happen to come across these dopes and they give you that look, like if they really know, when they really don't, because they don't take the time to educate themselves. People that are already in a position of comfort very rarely put themselves in a position of the student. Fact. Very rare is the person that is capable of doing that. So that's something you should probably take into account, right? So again, 1,000 days of flawless operation, 100% uptime. Hex coming through in 26 minutes. Hold on, guys. Nah, I think we're safe. So yeah. God damn it. Oh, bitch. All right. So yeah, 100% uptime, 1,000 days. Google has not done that. Amazon has not done that. Microsoft has not done this. Name your favorite software. Hasn't done it. Ethereum, Bitcoin, etc. Right? The list is infinite, damn near. And these are the things that people need to be thinking about when they're thinking about crypto. That is what they need to be thinking about. Because that's where the money, that's where the value is. People pretend to know value, but they don't. Value is not the price you pay. Nope. That's the discount you get if you're smart. That's what the price is, right? The value is the discount you get. That's the value. This is why it's important to understand people's psychological makeup. This is how I call tops and bottoms, right? Nobody said nothing about Hedron ever. Now everybody won't shut the fuck up about it. I was talking about it. You didn't hear anybody saying nothing positive about it. That's a fact because they didn't understand it. They thought there was something they understood better than the market. And there isn't anything that they understood better than the market. Nothing about Hedron changed except for that. Now you can stake it. Fundamentals are still the same. You can buy cheap stakes with it. That was the whole damn point. Period. So anybody acting like anything else has changed, well, you might want to look up the word fugazi on that one. Because Hedron's still the same thing as it was the other day. I mean, ain't nothing changed. Now you can stake it. Big whoop. So, understand how to analyze these markets. This is software. This ain't got shit to do with anything else. If you can't grasp that, then you will get left behind. Period. Like I told y'all from a long time ago, Hedron is round two for those that were not here for Hex in day one. Period. I mean, this is not rocket science, folks. This is not rocket science. So anybody out here turning it into that, you need to turn around and walk away. Because they're not trying to help you. They trying to be fancy and look smart. You don't need that shit. That is not going to help you pay your bills. Promise you that. All that complexity adds to the nonsense. It doesn't add value. Right? I mean, look at Hex. Hex is very simple. It's a coin that measures ROI and time, or ROI as a function of time. Simple. That's all Hex is. It's a time calculator. And it catches time better than anything I've ever seen. And it does it mathematically. Right? This is what Hex does. This is why my stream is titled as such, the New Atomic Time Oracle. It's not a joke. Not a joke. Once you understand how to look at markets, you can't ever be wrong. Period. People not understanding what you're saying is a function of them. That's not a function of you. So this is why when people give me shit about price calls and all that, it's irrelevant because they don't understand what non-absolute speech is, and that ain't my problem. That's why they still don't understand hex, right? Pretty simple. So always be cognizant of what you do not know, because what you don't know is what's going to make you better in terms of analyzing future opportunities. Because hex isn't going to be the last one. Look at Hedron. I'm sure that retires some people in some way, shape, or form. I mean, a 30x is pretty good if you hit it right and you got some size. So, and I mean, where the hell is this thing now? Yeah, and that thing is still in bull motion. So, you know, step your brain up, right? This is how Hex got to 1,000 days of flawless operation, because Richard decided to step his brain up. What do you think? He was just born making Hex? Like, no, no, that's not how it went down. I'm pretty sure of it, and I don't know him from any of you, right? But I'm pretty confident that he didn't just wake up one day and say, "Hey, I'm gonna type up Hex." Done. All right. Like, we all know that's not how it went. So why do we presume that we're already always there? We're not always there. We're never there. If you don't understand something, ask a question. Do not pretend to know. That's not going to add any value to your life, period. Right? I mean, we know this because we do it knowing we shouldn't do it. But the question is, when are you going to stop lying to yourself? When are you going to start taking action and doing the things that you need to do to improve your situation? That only comes when you're intent on taking care of yourself, right? I mean, we're all here to make money and progress and all of this, but I'll tell you guys what, it's more psychological, it's more mental than anything else. This is why you can make money and lose it. Don't matter if you got it. People go broke if they got money. That don't mean a damn thing. You got to learn how to keep money. That's what I talk about. I don't talk about nothing else. Making money is easy. If you look at Twitter, you can tell that, right? Paying people out here scamming people just because they can. And people let themselves get scammed just because they don't care. And that's how it works. I mean, if you out here clicking on buy one or send one, get two back, I mean, you deserve what you're getting. Because clearly you're not street smart. Why would the internet be giving you anything? What's wrong with you? Ain't nobody giving you nothing, right? So how does that happen? Well, that happens because people are just unaware, right? And when they're unaware, they fall into those type of traps, because there are people that are street smart and fall into those traps online because they just don't understand the difference on the internet. They don't, right? When you're buying software, the math is easy. Right? The math is easy once you understand what is going on. And a lot of people are choosing to not. And that's to their detriment, because they are going to be the ones that get left behind from the people that do understand. That's the way the world has always worked. And that's not going to change, right? Um, 999 days, 23 hours, 46 minutes, and some change. And we're about to cross that 1,000-day mark into day 1,001. I mean, look, I know I've said this before, but let me say this again. How valuable is software that never, ever fails? I mean, this is what you guys need to think about, because this is where the world is going. You think Hex is going to be the first iteration of that? Hex is going to become the standard to some degree because people want crap that works. They don't want crap that's crap. Right? As crazy as that sounds. People want crap that works. They don't want crap that's crap. And that's just the way things go. Right? This is why everybody loves Hex. It's not because of Richard Hart. Richard Hart is just a bonus. Right? The community is a bonus. All these other things that surround the Hex are honestly a bonus. But they would not exist if the code wasn't what it was. Understand? Everything that occurs within this small real world crypto ecosystem is because it is actually crypto. And a lot of people do not get that. They're still out here trying to chase things that are not chaseable. Everything that's happening and matters is here. Period. It's not out there. So these are things that people got to learn about. Very important that people learn. Because again, if you're in crypto, all right, this is a good question. Because people coming to crypto should understand why they're coming to crypto first and foremost. Because if they don't, that's going to lead to problems down the line. Because this should not even be a question. If the people that are at your onboarding understand what the actual problem is, that wouldn't even be a question. Because they will understand. But if they don't, then they need some further education. Reading is the only way. Nobody's got no answers for you because the system is set up to do what it does. Right? And this is why we do what we do. So if you think a 10-minute stream, a 20-minute stream, an hour-long stream is going to do it for you, well, I'm sorry, but that's just the start. You got to wake up. Like, the real world requires work. This is why Hex is at 1,000 days and counting. Because people put the work in. Right? Like, it didn't just come out of nowhere. And it's important that people understand that. I mean, these things occur for a reason. Not because it's magic. Hex at 3.98 cents. Very nice. We're lucky if we get to see 3.5 again. But again, right? What is your objective? Why are you here? Why do you care that Hex is 1,000 days old? These are things that you guys really got to answer. Because why do we care? Why are we here? Right? I mean, we all want to make money. That's easy. That's easy enough. But what after the money? A lot of people honestly believe that they can just make money and that's it. They don't understand what money is. They don't even know that the money that they're calling money isn't money. Right? And this is the problem. This is why you need to be properly educated in crypto. A lot of people think they got to do things like move to Puerto Rico and shit. They don't got to do none of that. But because they won't pick up a book, they do shit that they don't even really want to do. If you want to move to Puerto Rico, then it doesn't matter. But if you don't and you do, then it matters. That's the thing. There is no bad or good. It's just about what you ultimately want. That is all that ultimately matters. And this is why you can't sit there and just take it in the chin. You got to be ready to fight. You got to be ready to put your dukes up. Because the world will give it to you however it wants to give it to you. I mean, it's not here to do you any favors. And that's important to understand because if we keep operating under that guise, well, we're going to let people continuously take advantage of us. We're going to let people pretend in our faces, right? When they're just out here looking out for themselves. And that's common. That's not even uncommon. That's common, right? If you live in a city, you already understand that's how life works, right? And of course, everybody isn't like that, but on average, that's how things end up shaking out, unfortunately. And this is why you need to educate yourself, because nobody is out here doing you any favors. They're not. Everybody is not Richard Hart, right? Like, and you need to know. Like, Richard doesn't know everything. Like, you need to know some stuff too. So these are things that are important for you to understand. You know, Richard is an expert in the stuff he's an expert in. You got to be the expert in your own area. Like, we all come together and make one big, great, mosaic. This is not a one man show. He's just the biggest man because he created it. And that's all it is. Everybody here adds value in their own way. And they can if they want to, if they're not. And if they are behind the scenes, then they are. They don't, it's all on you, right? There are no expectation from the work of others here. Everybody's here to do their own thing. And a lot of people just don't get that. They out here looking left and right to see what other people are doing when they're not even doing anything themselves, which is the funny part. So be mindful of those suckers too, because there's plenty of them out there. Right? Everybody always got something to say, but I don't see them doing nothing. Whole lot of them cats out there. Happy Twitter fingers. Ain't doing shit though. Right? And that's not the real world, people. In the real world, nobody gives a fuck about the internet. So you got to be out there getting in front of people's faces, letting them know what's going on. The world continues to spin while you sit there typing shit on Reddit. The world doesn't care, right? Like, it's very important that people understand that, because I don't think that people that spend a lot of time on the internet really get that. Like, the internet is not the real world, and the internet does not really move the world. It's just a source of information for the world. That's it. Just like I use it. That's all it is. It ain't nothing else. People in the real world use it for what it is. Done. And people that spend a lot of time in Telegram and on Twitter, y'all need to understand that shit. A lot of people can't separate the two, and that's what's gonna really bog down a lot of people's lives, right? Like, you're gonna get left behind because you're too busy not looking where you need to be looking. Like, YouTube videos is cool, but they're not everything. You need to put your nose in a book and do some work. Write some shit out. Do whatever you got to do. Because just listening, right? Not conceptualizing and just listening is not the answer. You're never going to learn anything. You're never going to be knowledgeable in anything. You got to put in work. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. It honestly doesn't matter what you want to think. That's the way it works. You can spend all the time you want trying to do it a million other ways. You'll be right back here eventually anyway. Period. How do I know? Because I already went through that. So in essence, I'm talking to myself. All right? So I'm giving myself advice. My younger self. But I know a lot of people out here doing the same dumb things I was doing. So do it the right way. Yeah, everybody ain't on Twitter doing that. So, it's not the case. It's not the case for everybody. And again, I'm talking about those wasting time on Twitter. Everybody isn't on Twitter wasting time. What's the last thing I learned about? That's an interesting question. Um, well, the last thing I learned about, I guess, is how the system is designed. Like, our legal system. That's the last thing I've been learning about. And it's a long process. So it's been going for a long time. This is why I know a lot of the things that I know, because I actually know, how things work, not what people think how things work. Like, TV ain't real life. You got to read, and everything is on paper to a certain extent. And the people that are blocked, right, from these perma sources of information like YouTube, Google, and whatnot. Facebook, etc. Um, those places, right? Like they're gonna always block certain types of information, and the question always is, well, why, right? And what's the purpose of them blocking that information? Why can they block it, right? Well, what happens is that, and again, this is on record, right? And I've been tweeted about this. And I tweeted about this, years ago. Like this is already like years old information, going on 2 years. The federal government is on record tapping on Twitter's shoulder, Facebook's shoulder, whoever, Google shoulder, Yahoo, to suppress certain information. It's on record, like public record, like court documentation. This is a fact. Okay. So what that means is that the federal government, as we know it, which is not the actual federal government, um, is in breach of contract. They're usurping the law of the land, which is the Bill of Rights of everybody, because they're suppressing your ability to speak freely on these public forum platforms. But this is a public forum, period, because that's how it works. Doesn't matter that shareholders own the company. It is a public entity. It is a public utility because everybody in the world uses it. And it has more than 4 shareholders. And none of them own more than 25%. Period. So that makes this a public entity by default. Trading on a public exchange, multiple public exchanges, beholden to the regulators, etc., etc., etc. Right? So these are things that, as a person, you got to understand, because you'll see a lot of these fools on, especially in crypto Twitter, that they think that they're some type of cypherpunk and they're not. Right? They're some fucking square. They don't even know what crypto is. You'll see them saying, "Oh, Twitter is a private company." No, it's not. It's not a private company. Nothing that has a ticker is private. That's why it has a ticker. Whoa, imagine that. I mean, you guys got to understand. You got to just put in the work. It's so easy for me to sit here and talk crap all day because I just know this stuff. How do I know this stuff? Because I spent a long time learning it. And I'm telling you where it is, what it is, and how to find it. So you don't even got to spend years looking for it like I did. You can just go straight to the source. You can just search for what I'm telling you about. And you don't even got to search hard because it's all there. Because, like I told you guys, there's certain information that they can suppress and other information that they can't suppress. Their ability to suppress it is a function of their ability to coordinate. Yes? Everything is a function of coordination. Think about it. How do you think RH put Hex together? He didn't even create the T-share. It took a team. Right? It took a team. It didn't just happen. And these are the things we have to realize. I mean, it's very easy to just want to be rich and do nothing else. But, unfortunately, you're going to be in a world of hurt when you don't realize you're still broke. Because that money that you got millions of isn't even money. And there's a lot of people they like that. They're really out here walking around like they're paid and they're not. They don't got money in their bank account. They got fiat currency. Federal Reserve notes. They don't got a clue about putting money in their bank account. A clue. But whales do. See what I'm saying? And these are things that are factual, not opinions. Because when you got money in a bank account, banks can't tell you nothing. That's actually yours. But when you don't, well, go ahead, try to take some money out that you think is money, but it's not. It's really Federal Reserve notes, aka fiat currency, aka legal tender, right? And these are things you got to learn about. Like, we're doing crypto for a reason. I made the Hex Investment Trust for a reason. I created MCA for a reason. Nobody out here understands what's going on in crypto, period. It's funny that people sit here pretending to think that Richard needs to talk to any of these clowns in this space that are literally a waste of his time. I mean, this dude can huff and puff and just out knowledge them in every facet with a huff and puff. Why do we think he needs to continue to waste his time on Twitter spaces with these fools? I don't know. I'll never know. But, these are things that don't add value, right? What adds value? Direct marketing. Getting him on streams with people that aren't in fake crypto. That's the type of stuff that gets crypto in front of normies' faces. That's why I built that trust. That's why MCA. Because MCA works two ways. It's not just for hexagons anymore. Now we're doing stuff for high net worth individuals as well, right? Because we got to onboard too. So you guys got to understand nothing exists for us people that understand what's going on. So it has to be built. So yeah, since if you got it like that, then just don't worry about it. You're good, right? But at the end of the day, odds are you don't got any money in your account. A lot of people out here like that, thinking they hot shit, got no money in their account though. Funny. Appreciate the super chat, brother. The straw man, meet your straw man, and all the books related to that. Read them because they apply to you too. It's not just the Constitution. It's just your basic rights. Everybody's basic rights are violated day in, day out. And officially, congrats, folks. We are officially 1,000 days old. We are at 1,001, and there is nothing like completing 1,000 days of non-stop uptime. I mean, who the hell else can say that? Nobody. I mean, this is crazy. This is what it's all about. Period. This is what it's all about. Period. Every single day in, day out. Nothing to talk about. Clockwork. Just getting paid. Every single day. Now, what's the value of that to you? Nobody to ask. No tenant to take to court. No neighbors to argue with. You just getting paid. I mean, you cannot beat that with a baseball bat. Seriously, right? You can't beat that with a baseball bat, folks. And people don't know that this exists. A little over 1,000 stakers, a little over 300,000 unique addresses. I'm gonna actually try to finish the charts before we finish the stream, so you guys can get an updated look after the 1,000th day. I mean, this is crazy. Here we are, so few in this arena with so much alpha, and we don't even recognize it because we're so close to it. For the longest time, and I like to reference this all the time, I was talking to myself because I didn't realize that everybody wasn't on my level, right? So I had to keep washing down the language to the point where everybody can try to assimilate to a certain extent. And that's what we all need to be doing, right? This is how we onboard people, letting them know, hey, that money that you think is money is not money, and here's why. Last year your rent was X, or your cost of living was X, or your groceries were X, and now they're 2X, 3X, 4X, whatever it is. That's going to get people to understand that they don't got money, period. Real quick. Real quick. Because why do they keep working at the same rate and yet do not make any more? However, their cost of living continues to increase. That's because that's monopoly money, folks. Plain and simple. That is not money. That is fugazi, right? That's what that is. That's fugazi. That's not real. And this is why, on top of them printing trillions ad infinitum, right? Because they clearly don't stop. They keep printing and sending money all over the place. Um, they tax people. They tax the companies for having employees. They tax the employees for working. They tax the employees every time they go out and buy anything. Period. Anytime you spend $1, you're getting taxed over and over and over and over and over. How does that make sense? I mean, you can make any person understand this. All you got to do is help them understand that they are not paying attention to their cost of living. That's it. Once people realize that, it's done. They get it right away, real quick. Because that's what it's about. People are not out here trying to suffer. We're all here trying to do the same thing, period. Whether we like each other or not, we're all trying to be with a peace of mind. Everybody wants peace of mind. That's what everybody's aiming for. Unless you like drama, then that's clearly not your goal. But for everybody else, right, that's their goal. Peace of mind. They don't want to be in a situation where they have to keep thinking about coming up with X amount of dollars that they don't got. Right? Like, people are tired of that. So the only way people can find solace in not finding themselves in that position is by realizing that there is a way to exit that scam. I mean, do you not realize that people would definitely exit that scam if they knew and realized how much of a scam it was and that there was a better system elsewhere? Hell yeah, they would. That's not a question. That's a fact. It's not even an opinion. That's a fact. Right? And these are the kinds of things we got to think about. They're not going to happen because World Economic Forum is going to tell it to happen. Right? Like, that's not how it's going to go down at all. And we got to be aware of that. Because that's how it works, guys. Like, it don't work any other way. It's important that we realize this because we get left behind if we don't. Right? I mean, look at all these people that didn't buy Hex when they were around the first days just because they didn't like Richard. Like, what? Imagine being that inept, mentally inept. Because this is software, this is crypto. I mean, none of us like Bill Gates, yet we're all out here probably using some of his products, whether we like it or not. Facts. So I just don't get it. Don't have any interest in getting it. And it's sad to me to see the community time and time again succumbing to these fool rules that happen to want to suck Richard's, Johnson on occasion. Like, there's no value in that. We don't need that. We do not need that. He needs to talk to people that matter, not food rules in the fake crypto space. Period. Because fake crypto is not trying to make itself be deleted. And that's what we do. We delete them because they become obsolete. Period. Only fools deal in fake crypto knowing real crypto exists. And that's a fact. I don't care what your reasoning is. Fake crypto is fake crypto. Yes? Yeah. No brainer. And that's why a ton of people just missed 30x, right? 25x, whatever it was, but he drunk. They want to go play with fake crypto. Have fun. This is how it goes down, right? There's only one way to be better, and that's by doing better, right? Be sure to not be led astray by blind folks that don't even know where they're going. Because there's a lot of that in crypto. I mean, you really got people out here thinking they're really doing quantitative tightening. I mean, you got people just now figuring out what the Fed is going to do when I told you last month. You know, I think the biggest affliction in the Hex community is the masses of people not realizing that we are the tip of the spear in many ways. Because I know when we were doing stuff in the real world, that's what I had to come to realize. Nobody out there has a clue what's going on. So anybody trying to tell you that people out there have a clue about what crypto got going on, they're lying to you. And they clearly have no idea what the hell is going on themselves. And that is a fact. That's a fact, not an opinion. Factity, fact. Because if that was the case, why is it so hard to find anybody to do anything for you financially in regards to crypto? Because they don't know how to handle it, folks. Funny how that happens, right? And then if they do know, they know that they can't. But very few are the amount of people that actually do know what to do. And the further on down the line we go, the more people are going to realize that this is the case. Because in the real world, you can't hide this. You can't hide it. You just can't. And these are the things that are very important to people that are involved in the game, such as myself. I play this crypto game every day. I don't play the fake crypto game. I play the real crypto game every day. A lot of people just sit on here and act like they do, but they don't have a clue. They just own Hex and that's it. That's not the real crypto game. There's a whole lot more to it, right? And it's about relaying truthful information first and foremost. And we got a lot of people in the community that have zero interest in doing that. They have their own agenda. And you have to be aware of that as a person in the community because you're going to be subject to this information. And if you're not aware, you're going to get blindsided if you take it at face value. Because there was a point in time when we did have a lot of community members that really were integral, that were streaming and that were out there. And, you know, it's just a different energy nowadays. Completely different energy. Everybody isn't out here looking for everybody. They're not. They're out here looking for clicks, right? And that isn't progressing your knowledge base whatsoever. So you got to be cognizant of when you're watching that type of streamer too, because that isn't doing you no favors, right? That's not doing you no favors. Like we're all here to better ourselves financially, and that's it. But there's more to it after that because if you don't know, you're not going to stay in that well off financial position. And that's what most people don't want to realize. And that's the catch, right? That's the catch here. Because it's very easy to succumb to the nonsense. Look at all the people that got the death jab, right? And I mean, we're going to be able to harp on that forever because that's a classic case of cognitive dissonance. All of a sudden, people forgot what the fuck a virus was. I mean, come on, really? All of a sudden, people just forgot what the hell a virus was. Okay, I mean, like, whatever. Like, whatever works for you, man. Like, ain't nobody hating over here. You know what I mean? You want to be a dumbass, knock yourself out. Like, more power to you. Because if there's one thing I can tell you, as a person that's been trying to preach truth since at least my teens, is that nobody really wants to hear it if they don't want to hear it. And that's ultimately what it boils down to. That's what's so hard about changing the world, right? And that's why the easiest action typically is the person being the change that they want to see. This is why I continue to stream, because I want people to know the information that I know. It's easy for me to just, buy Hex and do nothing else. That's easy. Any genius can do that, right? But what value add is it there? I mean, I remember when I first started streaming last year in 2021, January. Majority of the community had no idea what the fuck was going on. And that's a fact. A lot of guys can say they claim they haven't figured out, but it's one thing to think you haven't figured out. It's another thing to have the freaking evidence in your face. And that's what I provided. Now, this isn't to toot my horn. This is for you to understand that you have to make sure you have the evidence that you need. Because I would always hear people say these things. And I'll tell you what, I didn't see them. I never saw the things people were saying. And in the real world, as you guys know, that ain't how shit works. Evidence must be provided. Well, at least until 2020, that was how it worked. Right? You needed to provide evidence. So that's what I did. Right? And I went in there so deep as to explain Hex in ways that people just still don't understand. And that's cool. They'll get it eventually, because if they're going to be around for 15 years, they're not going to have anything else to do at one point. So we can hope that at that point is when they'll figure it out, right? Because at the end of the day, Hex is too amazing to keep to ourselves. It really is. This is something that has to be shared because it's so rare, but yet everybody is looking for it. Whether they realize it or not is irrelevant. Everybody is looking for it. And this is something that you can't deny it. Like, you just can't deny it. This is the rule to the game, right? It's so easy to say buy Hex when the price is going up. Just like it's so easy for everybody to be talking about Hedron now when the price is going up. But who was telling you to buy Hex right now? Who was telling you to buy Hedron at the lows? You got to understand when you're being taught something and when you're being fed some bullshit. For the past few months, I've been trying to get people to understand that this is the time to be excited about the market. Now is when you build your position to change your life. Not when the price is 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, 80, 200x. Shout out to you, Alan. Don't forget that. Right? Like, it's about learning, folks. It's about learning. Anytime that I relay information, it's to educate you in some way, shape, or form. It's not for me to toot my horn later, because I don't care. I don't need to stream. I stream because I know people are interested in learning. But at the same time, you got to learn. And that's it. As complicated as it might sound, it's really that simple. when are you gonna decide to learn what's best for you? A lot of people like to build cheerleading sections. You know what I'm saying? Is I could say I got one, but I don't look at it like that because I keep people in check with that shit. Like, yeah, I hear you. You think I'm smart and all that, but I'm just like you. I'm just good at this. I respect people in the fields that they're good at, not in faking what they're not good at. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good at what I do and I'm on here providing the information that I know is invaluable because I know what I know and I provide the evidence every time. And this is what it's about. It's not about anything else. I mean, let's just look at the culture of hip hop. Why has it permeated the world? I come from the home of it. I grew up in that. That is my culture. It's about authenticity, not copying everything else. That's not respected here. Hold on. Uh, right, like I really want people to learn. I don't want people to listen. I want people to hear and learn, right? Because it's so easy to just click on a channel, man, and just do what somebody else tells you. But what happens if that thing that they told you to do just doesn't work? What do we do then? What do we do then? There has to be an answer for that. I mean, and this is why it was so easy for me to talk about Hex. Because the answer is stake that bad boy. You're talking about it at the same time that you're telling people about it. It's not rocket science. Do you guys get that? I mean, investing is not about being right. Because you never know until you are. I mean, that piece right there is crucial information for everybody that's watching the stream right now. Take that in. Take that in. Thinking you know is not the same as knowing you know. What happens when that information somebody gives you doesn't work for you? What happens then? What do you do? It's so easy to come and watch these streams. It's so easy to think somebody knows more than you, but they don't because they don't got your point of view. Only you got your point of view. And only you know what you want to do with your life. They don't know. So even though they're giving you their best, unfortunately, their best just doesn't work for you unless you're literally trying to be them. I mean, this is something we all must understand as people, because people giving you TA, they're giving you TA. They're not telling you what to do. And a lot of people take it that way. And that's not what TA is about. TA is about probabilities. That's it. It's about understanding what could maybe happen. If something is off, what's the math behind that? Is there math behind that? If so, what is the math behind that? Right? Because in fake crypto, there's no such thing. There's no math in fake crypto. So it's very difficult for people that don't know about math to respect it. Like they think it's a joke. They don't understand that they're just playing themselves. And that's cool. You know what I mean? Like everybody learns. I didn't respect math until I realized I was a fool. That's my religion if you want to call me religious. Right? That's definitely what it is. Real talk. So how do we go to where we trying to go? It's very easy to say we want this, we want that. But what are we doing to achieve that? right? This is where the power in knowing who you are, what you're capable of, where you're trying to go, what you're trying to be, this and that and the third. This is where that power comes from, because how do you make the right decision? It's so difficult to just buy and hold something and not think about it. That's not normal, because we're typically emotionally invested in our investments, whether we want to be or not. So it takes a special type of person, or a specific type of understanding, to realize what's going on, and that you are okay, and that you don't have to put yourself in a position to not understand where you are. A lot of people put themselves in a position where they don't understand what they're doing in that position. Now, the problem with that is that problem with that is that how do you get to the point where you're confident in what you're doing? Because that's ultimately what everybody wants, right? We all want to be positively mentally positioned for the endeavor we're taking on. Nobody wants to be second guessing themselves, even though they typically are, right? I mean, like I tell people all the time, even after I first got into Hex, I spent 60 days trying to figure that out. Not easy, but that's what it takes. Right? How have I educated so many? I mean, after all, I've discovered I've onboarded so many people just by backroom conversations. I had no idea, because I just do this to provide factual information, because that's what, in my mind, typically onboard people if they're watching YouTube anyway, because that's what it's about. It's about getting people the right information. It's not about being popular or any of that nonsense. It's about giving people what they need. And everybody needs the right information. Everybody needs the right tools. Everybody needs to make the right moves. That's what people really need, right? People don't really need. I'm updating these charts now. People don't really need, a pat on the back and stuff like that. Like, they need solutions. You know what I'm saying? Like, they need opportunity. Like, they need to be able to do what they got to do to take care of them. That's what people need. They don't need anything else. So when people aren't willing to do that, it it's on you, the person getting the information from the medium, right? The person you're getting gathering the information from. Like, that's on you, not on the person giving you the information. I mean, let's talk about when I was talking about Hex at the high, right? When that thing was trading 50 cent. I mean, it didn't make sense. And I'm on record saying, it don't make sense how this thing is moving, right? Because I had never seen nothing like that before in my life, and I've been in markets for 10 plus years, right? And it's difficult for people to understand that. Yo, that's why staking is a thing. You don't gotta worry about whether it makes sense or not. You just buy it and stake it. Ow. Right? Like, that's what it's about. That's what's so great about Hex. You don't gotta sweat anything unless you just want to. Because at the end of the day, your principle is your principle. And if you understand math, then you're kind of okay after that. You get to that point. Because that's typically the hard part for people to understand, is that this is in many ways, um, It's funny people say that because that's actually not what I said. I would always explain how it could get there, but it's cool. Motherfuckers got wax in their ears and shit, so it's all right. Don't really matter to me because at the end of the day, if your ass ain't staking, it don't really matter what I said because you didn't do the most important part, which was staking that shit for the max. Especially if you're under 45, you're just a dumb fuck, and you deserve feeling the heat if you don't get what's being relayed because ain't nobody over here hiding nothing from you, and that's the catch, right? I mean, you want to respect people that are literally trying to scam you and they're getting paid for it, then knock yourself out. All good. Right? I mean, who's winning in that equation? Not you. So don't mean shit to me. Very simple. Very simple. So that's how it works. Right? Only you can play yourself. Ain't nobody else play you. Only you. And these are things that people gotta understand. Very simple. Right? People out here comparing fiat to crypto and they don't even know what they're comparing. And this is why you gotta understand who's talking to you. A lot of people got a lot of things to say, but are they really saying anything? Talking nice is cute, but what's the substance? Yeah, I don't mind people busting my balls at all because we're all going to be wrong at one point or another. That's a fact, right? I mean, that's real simple. So ain't no love lost. I'm gonna keep being wrong. Whoever don't think they're gonna be wrong is retarded. So that's pretty much that. What is up with my shit? 48.95. Hold on, guys. There's something wrong with my damn. I gotta figure out what's wrong here. Okay. Never mind. Fixed. Yeah, you got to really, make sure you understand what's being said. And if you don't, ask questions. Because if you don't, then that's on you. Person saying it typically knows what they're saying. So yeah. And if they can't explain after being questioned, then you got a basis for complaint of all types, right? Because all questions be answered unless people are just trying to be little pricks, which is obvious, right? I mean, there's a difference between asking a genuine question and just trying to be funny when you're not. So ain't no secret to that. But you know, this is why it's important to understand the bare bones of crypto, so you don't get lost in the sauce. Because it's so easy, right? It is so easy to get lost in the sauce because, again, right, there's all manner of information flying at us 100 miles an hour all day, all night. How do you stop that? I mean, you almost can't. It's just coming. You can't really stop it. And that's just important to understand because this is the difference in making the right decision and making the wrong one. And notice I continuously talk about that because at the end of the day, the steps you take or don't take, they're decisions that you make, not anybody else. So you got to realize that and respect it because at the end of the day, you're gonna be mad at yourself. You can be mad at the other person that you didn't listen to or listen to all you want, but at the end of the day, it's your decision to make, not anybody else's. And this is what's crucial about finance, while people say it's team sport, it really isn't. I mean, you really got to understand why you're making a decision and the implications of what could happen if it's wrong. A lot of people don't want to think about that, when that in fact is the most important aspect of any analytical, process, is trying to ascertain what the downside is, if any, right? And that's not easy because, pie in the sky is much easier, right? Pie in the sky is so much easier, right? Yeah, Hex is going to $10 and anytime, maybe place a limit order there and you'll get lucky. Who knows? Many people slip up all the time, right? So these are things you got to think about. This is a digital system. There is no peer to peer in a physical sense. So there are ways to take advantage. Question is, are you astute enough to figure it out? Most cases, the answer is no. Because a lot of people, while they're capable, they're incapable of taking the time to figure it out. And that's ultimately what the majority of the problem with most people is, that they're just not willing to take the time. That's really it. I know that was always the case for me. Once I decided to do that, my life changed. But I had to decide to do that first. Wasn't happening otherwise. And this is why it's important to understand that that doesn't just happen because, it doesn't happen even based on merit. It just, that's not the way it works. It happens because it either has to or it doesn't. And that's a function of people and what they decide. It's not a function of anything else. So if you're making the wrong decisions, you're going to be impacted negatively, right? It's very easy to buy something, see it run up 20x, and then that's it. Game over, party over, right? Like that's it, you're done. And, that's ultimately not what people aspire to in their expectations, right? Like everybody pretends like everything's always going to work out a-okay. But the question is, are they doing the work to ensure that if something does go left, they can make it go right? That's the catch, right? That's the catch. It's so easy to pretend, but what happens if it just doesn't work? Do you have a plan B that works? I mean, your plan B should be your plan A, right? To a certain extent, if you get what I'm saying. Should not be an actual place where you settle. Like you should always try to achieve your goals, because assuming they're sensible, meaning attainable, meaning you're being methodical and analyzing the situation and realizing that it is achievable, then you'll achieve it, as long as you're analyzing how to make it happen. Otherwise, it's not gonna happen. And that's what's hard for people to figure out. I mean, this is why they think crypto's a scam. Yeah, this is why people think crypto is a scam, because they can't figure out that it's not. That's important, because that's going to cause a lot of people to get left behind, right? Hold on, guys. I think I got Nope, they went the other way, so we're good. But this is important, right? Because this makes a difference in and making the right decision and the wrong one. And at the end of the day, everybody's here trying to make the right decision. Nobody's trying to make the wrong decision. And that's what's so hard about this game, because everybody wants to win. everybody wants to win now. But that's just not how it works. If it was that easy, then you wouldn't need to watch no streams. Nobody would have to tell you anything. You would just do it. You see? But that's not reality. So that means there's something more to it, and that's really important because how else do you crack the code, so to speak? Because the code doesn't crack itself, right? The code does not crack itself. I mean, funny thing, funny thing is that the people that are literally telling you how to get rich are not advertising it. They're just telling you. People advertising it, they're not telling you anything. They just keep giving you a carrot with a carrot stick. Something to think about. Sorry guys, little damn dirt bikes. Run amok in this canyon. You know it's funny, sound travels as you all know, and because of the area and where I live, it's like going down a slope, going down a hill. And it's number buildings, right? It's New York City. I live in the Bronx, number tall buildings. So the sound just carries. When you're on the ground, it doesn't sound anything like that at all. In fact, it's like you can't even hear the damn thing, which is what's most annoying about it. Because you know what it sounds like on the ground floor if you live up here, and it don't sound anything like that. But yeah, these are things to keep in mind because they're important bits of information. Everybody wants to win. Nobody wants to lose, right? Like nobody wants to win. Everybody wants to lose. No, everybody wants to win. Nobody wants to lose. So there's only one way to make that happen. That's by not doing what everybody else is doing. Because you see everybody else is doing what everybody else is doing. Like you see it. Monkey see, monkey do. There's even a word for it. Yes, yes. So that means that you got to do the right thing. And that's the opposite of what everybody else is doing. Real talk. As crazy as that sounds, that is the way. There is no other way. Unfortunately, there really isn't any other way. I mean, think about it. The claim that you hear is that a lot of people got the jab, right? That's the claim that you hear in mainstream. And yeah, plenty of people did, no doubt about it. But is it really more than 50%? I don't know. I don't actually think so. I think a lot of people really woke up to the fact of what was going on before, after the first one. Interesting question to ask. I actually did my last stream on that one, so you might want to go check. Oh, the stream before my last stream. It's actually titled Executive Order 14067. So you should probably go check it out. Um, but yeah, you know, how do you get to the point where you understand the importance of what's actually happening? That's very difficult in a lot of ways because, unfortunately, as you guys have been seeing, a lot of people are going to succumb to the nonsense of what is the CBDC. And I mean, I just think about it and I honestly can't believe it myself, but it's true. A lot of people are going to succumb to that nonsense. Why? Because, like I told you guys before, all these mediums of information, they're going to all of a sudden start talking about it as if it's a positive thing. Yeah, watch. It'll happen because I'm already seeing it. Already. These people have a vested interest in lying to you. That's exactly what they're there to do. Lie to you. That's it. No more, no less. So once you figure that out, life becomes so much easier that you're automatically a genius compared to everybody else because everybody else is just being told what to do and they're just doing it. And that's not what we actually want, right? Like that's not what people actually want. So, once you realize that you're being scammed and all of that, things change a little bit. Um, like your frame of thought changes, right? The way you view things changes. A lot of things change because now you realize you need to have a vested interest in what you did not have a vested interest before. I mean, you know, I hated politics pretty much up until I had to start paying attention to it, even though I knew what I knew, which is interesting, right? Because this is what a lot of us do. Plenty of people that were in the service that understand what's going on, and there's not much that they can say or do about it because they're alone. They're not part of a machine, and there is a machine out there operating against us in all manner of fact and form, right? And it's very difficult for the average person to see that, right? You can literally read the rules to how things work in this country, and you still got people believing that this clown, Joe Biden, is a president. Like, come on, this is problem number one, right? People don't know the rules to the game, and yet they think they can pretend to play it. Like, no, you're not playing the game at all. You're just being played, and you're consenting to playing their game. That's what's ultimately happening. If you do anything within their rule book, that's what you're doing, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer. No-brainer. I mean, these are things that you have to come to terms with as a person that's operating in this space and is trying to be knowledgeable because there's so much misinformation floating around. A lot of people are going to get suckered into these CBDC traps. A lot of people. It was a long time. I mean, Hex is almost 3 years old, and only now is RH talking to higher level YouTube gurus. Like, he's still not really cracking what he needs to be cracking. Because RH is superior to all the duds he continues to talk to. Period. Which is in many ways kind of a problem, right? Because he can't have a regular conversation with these people. Like, he could pretend to, and we know what he's saying, but do they? Probably not. Probably not. And you got to understand that this stuff, to understand it, it takes work. It takes quality of information. It takes a lot of things that are just not out there readily available for people to grab. And this is why what we're doing is important as a community because we're here to really help people see the light that they need to see. Because they'll go to a mid-range Furu stream and see some nonsense and RH talking. But that's just a little bit of information. That's not what they need to know. Because 9 out of 10 times they're gonna step to this like if it's a quick flip, right? Oh yeah, I hear. All right, yeah, word. I'm just working on these charts, guys. So give me a few. Um, but like these are things that we all want at the end of the day, right? We all want success. We all want this. We all want that. But are we doing the things we need to do to find them? I mean, these are the things we got to be asking ourselves as we traverse through this space of information, right? Because after the past 2 3 years, we should be realizing by now that this is all everything we come across on the internet. Uh, it's information that's put there by somebody, right? Like you guys get that, yes? So verifying the source of that information, what that information is, all like what that data point is just as important as what the data point is itself, if that makes sense. Like what that data point is and how that data point came to be is more important than what that data point is by itself. I mean, this is how you come to the proper conclusions. You know, I really like to think about how I found Hex and how it made sense to me so quickly, right? The only thing was me trying to verify all these statements and all this crap that was being said. That's what it was all about to me, not anything else. So once I was able to do that, it was so easy to speak about what's really going on, right? Because a lot of people aren't willing to do that. They're not, right? Even within our community, they're not willing to do that. They just want to party and have a good time because that's the solution. But that's not really the solution. Like, there's an actual problem and it's actually fucking crunch time. You know what I mean? Like, that's real talk. Like, there's a time and place for everything. And right now, we got problems to solve, whether we like it or not. So we better solve them. If not, only gonna get worse for us. Not gonna get better. So these are things that we gotta just deal with in 2022, and that's our reality here in in this present day and age. And that's just what it boils down to. As much as it sucks, we don't gotta like it, but we sure as hell better deal with it. Right? We better deal with it because we don't got much of an option. And that's what people are realizing. This is why people are educating themselves. Even I push myself, right, to the point where, it's crazy. I can talk about the things if I wanted to, but I ain't going to. Because again, it's not to be given. Game ain't to be given. Like you really gotta want it. That's really just what it boils down to. Because it's so easy. I was streaming for a whole year just giving away out. Nobody cared. A lot of you guys, of course, do. I'm not talking about you guys. But as you can tell by the chart, a lot of people didn't, right? And that's ultimately what it boils down to for me. Like a lot of people didn't. And that's not what we need. Like we need more good things. We don't need less good things. So that happens by people putting in the work. That's it. Nothing else. How was I able to present all this useful information to people because I put in the work? Nothing else. It ain't rocket science. It's very simple. And once you figure that out, there's no stopping you. Literally. There's no stopping. I mean, how else do people achieve greatness? Is by them doing what they want to do. I'm doing what I want to do. That's why to me, I'm just having a good old time. Ain't nothing else to it but to do it. Have a good old time. If you're trying to find this information, make yourself wealthy, all this, all that. You know, make sure you're doing it right because money is fleeting. Gains are fleeting, good times are fleeting. The only constant is change. Just like pain is temporary, so is pleasure. Simple as that. That's funny. You silly, bro. I'll leave that up there, y'all, so y'all can read it in the live if y'all want. That's pretty funny. If you haven't seen Good Will Hunting, that's a great movie. You should watch it. It's mind blowingly good. Just the twists and turns in that thing, crazy, crazy good. Um, but yeah, learn because this information is free. There's been many studies done actually, and this one I particularly remember from this book called Thinking Fast and Slow. If you haven't read that book, check it out. It's a pretty good one too. There's actually an audio form too, so you can actually hear it if you want as well. So it's actually for free on YouTube. If you're into that, I like to read, but it's also there for your listening pleasure if you like. Um, Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman, I think, and I can't remember who else is the other guy that wrote the book, but it's a phenomenal book. Long story short, you want to realize that when you don't know something, you don't know something, and amazingly, everything always comes back to that. And what does that even mean? Um, when we think about what we're doing here and why we're doing it and all that good stuff, so easy to forget what the purpose of crypto even is, right? Because a lot of people love to lean on not that. Like a lot of people don't like to lean on that. They like to lean on nonsensical information that isn't adding any value. Like that's what a lot of people like to lean on. This is why people like watching food rules, right? Because they want to know what's going to happen for that next trade, even though that really isn't going to do anything for their pocket. And that is reality. So how do you combat that as a person that might not realizing that they're doing that? Look at your results. Where are you now versus when you started? Are you more knowledgeable? Are you less knowledgeable? Are you understanding information that's being relayed to you? All these things, right? Like, what are you doing to put yourself in a position of power? That's basically what the question is. Because a lot of the times, the power is in our hands, and we don't even realize it. I mean, how crazy is that? But we have total control, and we don't even realize it because we're fed so many lies, right? I mean, you guys got to understand when everybody is saying don't do something, it's this, it's that, you're wrong. It's almost impossible for the average person to go against that. Crucial that we understand that because that's what the end result is. Like, it's not what you want, right? I mean, the most basic thing of crypto is to understand that it's software. If somebody's trying to teach you crypto and they haven't taught you that, then they have failed you. Period. They have failed you, period. right? Because that is not going to help you make the right decisions. That's going to help you think that you're a part of the system and that things that headlines apply to you or something. And if you guys have been watching me for a while, you know how the game works, and you know that those headlines are just headlines, right? Literally. This is why they've been banning crypto in China and India forever, and they're still banning it to this day, right? I mean, these things happen because people don't understand. Like they're just headlines. That's very important to grasp because this is how you don't get fudded out and sell. I mean, look at what they did to those XRP people. I mean, God bless anybody selling that Fed coin. Because if you don't get what's going on by now over there, then man, good luck to you. You're part of the problem. Because that's where we're at. I mean, that's honestly where we are at. There's no two if there's no if ands or buts about it. That's just where we're at. So wow, t-shirt rate 23,281.4. And these are the types of things, that people don't take into account. Like, this t-shirt rate, it keeps ratcheting. It keeps ratcheting. It doesn't stop. This is what it's about. Simple. Value proposition consistently goes up over time. Your position gets more valuable by default over time. Done. No two ways to cut that cookie. I mean, that's just how it is. This is why gold is manipulated because you succeeding from that is not beneficial to anybody. So, you can't have that. Simple and plain. You just can't have it. So you got to understand what, the who, what, when, where, and why. Like, why is that happening? That happens for a good reason. That happens so people get disgruntled with the system and they think they have to be subjected to something else when they don't. This is ultimately what happens. This is why people end up in those types of situations. For real. That's how it happens. Um, I mean, how else, right? Can it happen? I don't think it can happen in any other way because at the end of the day, um, everybody's trying to get what they're trying to get, and that cookie crumbles how it crumbles. Doesn't crumble any other way. So that's pretty crucial information to understand because if you don't, you get left behind. And man, this chart is fucking crazy. And that's not what you want, right? You ultimately do not want to get left behind. You want to be on track, right? Following suit. This is why staking is so important, right? A couple days ago, or yesterday, we got 13.2 hex per t-shirt payout per t-shirt. That was the payout. 13.2 hex. Now, why did that happen? That happened because somebody emergency unstake. And the system is designed to give half of those penalties to the stakers. So if you were holding on and staking and you were staked this whole time, then you got them 13. And that's just it. That's how it works. Simple as that. I mean, doesn't get any simpler. And once you get that, you realize there's no way around not being staked. It's a conscious decision that you have to make. Simple as that. And if you want to make that decision, that's fine. No harm, no foul. You just got to understand what you're doing, and that's ultimately my whole message. You got to understand what you're doing. That's it. If you don't understand what you're doing, then you're bound to make a mistake, and you don't want to actually make a mistake. This is why we're having this conversation and stuff like that. This is why I'm saying the things that I'm saying, because it's so easy to just get lost in the sauce. But that's ultimately not what you're trying to do. You're trying to actually find the correct avenue. You're not trying to play yourself. And that's what's so difficult. It's super easy to play yourself. Like, no doubt about it. Super easy to do because there's nothing but misinformation out there. There's no two ways about it. And this is why the Furu class is so critical to eliminate their relevancy. Like, the information that they provide is baseless. It's zero. It's nil. I mean, you got to realize over the past couple years, the world has taken a turn in a lot of ways for the worse because people are realizing on betas for information. They're not seeking information themselves. That's a problem because they're not realizing that they're getting played themselves by following these clowns. And that is a major problem because people end up making incorrect decisions that they wouldn't have made otherwise. Very important to understand because we're, again, not trying to make those incorrect decisions. We're trying to make the correct ones. That is everything. And the betas roll deep. They roll deep. They roll deep. They roll deep and they think they're tough. I mean, and we seen them trying to call out RH and all that. Like, we see these clowns out here thinking they got some value to add, and they got tons of followers. But their followers are also just a ton of betas too. Until they realize that they're following a beta, they're betas. Simple. And I mean, look, don't get it twisted. All good leaders are good followers. But when you're not following a leader, you're just a follower. You're just following a follower. I mean, and this is what the masses are out here doing. Like, you guys got to realize that. Like, there's grown men out here relying on other grown men to become grown men instead of realizing that it just as simple as owning up to being a damn man. I don't know. Like, it's real basic. You know what I mean? Like, just stop being a bitch. Like, it's kind of crazy. It's not, it's not rocket science. It's really not. Wow. T-shirt rate is it's crazy today, the t-shirt basis. What is going on here? Uh uh Probably because of yesterday or a couple days ago. Yeah, 13.1989 hex payout per t-shirt a couple days ago. Tonight the payout was 6.1763. Woof. I mean, the average for the 28 day is 6.5, and the average for the 55 day is 6.33. So over time, and I'm gonna pull up the charts in a minute, but we just keep going up. I mean, again, 1,000 days running nonstop, paying you every day, nonstop. Your money is secure. 1,000 days nonstop. No hack, no stoppage, no bugs, no nothing. The most boringest 1,000 days in history are letting credence to them being the most valuable 1,000 days in history. I mean, come on. How much better do you want it to get? I mean, I mean, we're what, like 19% through the 5 year, 15-year cycle, 5,005, 18 points. We're 18% through the 5,555 day cycle. Well, I mean, boring in the sense that all you're doing is watching. You're not doing anything else. All so in very simple terms, with no further statement than just what I'm about to say. How do you get rich, right? Because that's the thing that everybody wants to know the answer to. How do you get rich? And it's actually very easy. And this is why you can tell a man how to get rich, but that don't mean anything because they got to understand how to get rich themselves for themselves. Um, Everybody doesn't see things the same. Everybody can't see things the same, and this is why you know what we do is provide valuable information to others, and what they decide to do with that information, is ultimately on them. But we are to be sure that we're providing. I mean, especially for Hex, right? Because Hex is a different animal all by itself. Like, it just needs to be presented a certain way, which is accurately. Right? Because everything else is presented inaccurately. Uh and Hex is actual crypto, you know, like it's very straightforward. And that for people is almost perplexing because they're not used to that. They're used to having to figure out how the scam works. When in fact, there's nothing to figure out here except how it works. And once you do, that's it. It's done. Like, there's nothing else to do. And that is crucial because this is what lends credence to the future that I see for Hex. I mean, do you guys realize that for something to be a clock, it can't really fail? Like, it has to just work because then it just stops keeping time. Like, for Hex to work unencumbered is insane. I'm not even gonna highlight that because I don't give nobody no ideas. But it's insane. And these are things we gotta realize. Like, how do we get to this next level? By providing the correct information. Doesn't happen any other way, guys. It honestly does not. And the sooner we realize that, the better off we are as a community because the onboarding is easy once people got the right information. It's not a guessing game at that point. I mean, at that point, it's how quickly can I buy this damn Hex thing you're talking about? Straight up. If you got somebody that understands the monetary situation and you tell them about Hex, that's the reaction. And you guys know it. It's a beautiful thing to see because you just save somebody's future. There's no ego to be shared here. We're out here trying to save people's hide with what we're doing and sharing this information. There can't be any ego in that. So when you see that, run because there shouldn't be any. So, keep that in mind as you walk throughout this crypto world and you come across people with nothing but ego. Those are the people to steer clear from. They ain't doing nothing for you at all. So you got to figure that out, right? Because how else do you get to the next stage? Because again, it's easy to make the money, not easy to keep the money. I keep saying that. I've been saying that for a long time. And a lot of people are going to learn what the hell I mean soon because they think they know, but they don't know dick. And that's just how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately, for some people. And hey, it is what it is. We're out here giving this alpha away for free. And what's crazy is that it gets deeper, right? The level of skill that you possess as an individual is literally a function of your interest and how good you want to develop your skill in the first place. Right? How do I get to be whaled? Well, I fucking put in the work. That's it. And it's no secret. I wasn't born with nothing. I just wanted to learn what I wanted to learn, and that was it. That's how that's how it happens. How do you get a Tiger Woods? A million golf swings. That's all it is. How do you get a Michael Phelps? All that motherfucker did was swim, right? And that's it. There's no more, no less. That's how the cookie crumbles. There's no secret recipe. There is no secret sauce. There's none of that. It's just about understanding what you have to do as an individual. Because at the end of the day, again, only you can save you. Nobody else can save you. Everybody ain't LeBron. Ain't nobody coming to get you out the ghetto so you can go play in the NBA, right? So you got to figure it out. That's what it boils down to. You know what I'm saying? You got to figure it out. Yeah, what's funny? That's what they say. I say it depends on what you're learning and what you're trying to accomplish. Because it could be 1,000, it could be 20,000. It just depends, right? But that's the average, and that's 5 years. 40 hours a week mastery. Not easy by any means, right? Because everybody wants to be a master, but do they really? Very hard to say because at the end of the day, what's our objective? Our objective is to retire ASAP. Right? Some of us got it already, some of us don't. But at the end of the day, right? That's everybody's objective. Everybody's objective is the same. It's to get out of the rat race and be done with it. But do you actually understand that? A lot of people don't. They think they do, but they don't. And it takes time for people to exactly even understand what I mean. Because even understanding what I mean, it takes time because we're not all on the same level, whether we want to be or not. That's just how the cookie crumbles, right? And what are we going to do about it? Continue to have conversations, continue to educate ourselves. That's what we're going to do about it. That's the only thing we can do about it. This is why I continue to stream. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree. It just it just depends on the person. That's all I mean. I've been doing what I do since I was a little kid. So there's a reason I'm good at what I do. I don't know, you know, I don't think there's like a block of instruction where you can just be like, yeah, 10,000 hours checked off. I'm good now. I don't know. You know what I mean? But yeah, the more time, 100% for sure, the better. No doubt about it. Because this is why I'm good at seeing what I see. That's why Rich is good at doing what he does, because he's taking the time to perfect his craft, whatever it is, whether it's marketing, whatever, getting in front of people's faces, whatever it is. People take the time to perfect that craft, and that's how they get good at it. That's how they get successful at it. Not any other way. I spent a long time in my youth playing baseball games, not realizing that I wasn't Allen Iverson. Not yet, anyway. Right? Nobody was really looking at me like that, even though I knew I was good enough. But it doesn't matter, because that's not what matters. At the end of the day, the reality that others view is what matters. And that comes from you putting in the work and being effortless, not just being good sometimes. Because sometimes don't pay the bill, right? And that's the damn thing. Some people think that sometimes is good enough, and it's not. Imagine if Hex only works sometimes. We'd be just as bad as Solana. I mean, damn, that's horrible. I'd be pissed if I owned any of that. Can't imagine owning that trash. Period. I don't give a damn what the chart did. That thing is trash. Trash. There's no two ways about it. That chain is trash. Pulse X and Pulse Chain been on testnet for super long. The only time the chain has been down was, I think, to update it or something. That was like one time. And I think it was like at the beginning when it like should have happened. Right? I mean, ever since then, it's not happened. Nothing's been down. Like, etc., etc. You know what I mean? It's like, when do we stop acting like there is competition? Like, I'm waiting for people to act like they got their mind right, and I'm not seeing it. Not seeing it at all. Thank you for the super chat, Alan. Appreciate that, brother. Money is a tool. Fact. This tool allows you to make your passions a reality, not just a dream. Fact. Now go and print some for 15 years, motherfuckers. Good advice, sir. Great advice, in fact. Because that's the point of Hex. Damn. Do what you got to do to take care of yourself. Nobody is out here doing you any favors. They're not. They can only do what you're willing to do. That's it. There's nothing else besides that out here going on. And that's difficult for people to wrap their head around. Because people really want to believe there's some saving grace out here. But unfortunately, it's your battery. It's your sweat equity. That's your saving grace. There is no uh, body that's gonna be out here to do what you won't do for you. It just doesn't exist. You gotta be willing to put in the work. And look, I promise you, it's not that bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's really not that bad. You just gotta, want to do it. And that's the hard part. The hard part is wanting to do it. Not easy by any means. Um, but it's got to be done. There's no other way. So you gotta do that. Nobody else can do that for you. And I think that's very hard for people to accept. This is why crypto is so frowned upon in some circles, right? In some certain respects. So, you got to understand that difference because that's how you progress to making the kind of moves that make sense, right? Because everybody's trying to make the right moves. Nobody's trying not to make the right moves. And that's what's difficult about talking about this crypto stuff. Because you see it everywhere, right? But then why wouldn't everybody be trying to make money? Because that's the catch. Everybody isn't out here trying to make money. These people that are for rules are put in front of you to extract value from you. Nothing else. And it's simple. So, how do you put yourself in a position to only win? Because that's kind of the crazy thing. If you're a Hexagon, you only know winning. I don't know losing. Because I stick to crypto principles. Real crypto. We don't play with the fake crypto over here, right? And that's what it's about. It's not about anything else. Period. Because that is how you end up in Hex. It ain't by playing the funny money game, right? It's not by that. So once you wrap your head around that, there is no going back. Like that becomes reality. And that is what reality is all about. It's not about anything else. So, once you realize that, things change. Your analytical situation changes, a whole lot of things change because everything now looks like it's supposed to. It's difficult because, again, right, the onslaught of information is always the opposite of what it should be. And this is why we need to be cognizant of the information we're giving out because even we can become tools for the state if we're not careful, right? And nobody's trying to do that. Everybody's trying to give good information, at least in most cases, anyway. So that's how it works, right? That's how you got to do it. Don't work any other way. And this is something that you got to come to terms with as an individual that's participating in this space because it's so easy to just buy any coin. It's very easy. Is that the answer? Never. Right? If that was the answer, then we wouldn't be here talking about Hex because it wouldn't matter. Pretty simple. Right? So the fact that we are specifically talking about one coin makes all the difference. And this is what people don't understand. They think it's a maxi thing. They don't understand it's a it works thing. Nobody cares about it being Hex and that Richard Hart made it, and all that is great. It's a bonus. But even Richard says it himself. It literally does not matter. That's not the point of crypto. That's not why crypto exists. That's not why crypto was invented. So, given that being the case, only but so much you can do outside of respecting the facts. So, that's all you can really do. Because if the man himself is telling you then you're probably best served following that protocol. That's what would make sense, right? Hold on, guys. All right. So yeah, these are the things you got to take into account, right? Take into consideration because this is how you make the right decisions. Straight up, this is how you do it. Doesn't happen any other way, right? Because if that was the case, it'd be a different world, but it's not. So, got to realize that that's what it is, right? At the end of the day, it's about the choices you make based on the information you have. This is why I beat that drum so loudly, and I don't care if people are tired about me saying it, because that is everything. If you didn't have the right information about Hex, you think it was a scam like the rest of the morons that are out there. But safe and steady, we continue to party, right? We're not worried about what the scammers are saying. Because the people calling Hex a scam are the actual scammers. Facts, not fiction. Because that's actually how it works, right? That's what we've come accustomed to seeing in the system. This is what gatekeeping is all about. Why gatekeep? No reason to gatekeep, right? If if Hex is really a scam, why gatekeep it? They don't gatekeep any of the other scams. So clearly, people got ulterior motives, right? So, you know, screw the full rules. They're not doing you any favors. Just because they got no choice but to talk about Hex now doesn't mean anything. How else are they going to talk about? Bitcoin? Ethereum? What? What are you going to talk about? Because they don't know anything about it. So I'd love to know, what are they going to talk about? Because we already know they don't know anything about it. That's why they're called fool rules. That's why they didn't see the dip coming, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? I mean, when the general community is better than the entire army, entire Furu army, I mean, you gotta know that you gotta stop wasting your time watching the fools. Yo, it's kind of crazy, man. Like, it's kind of crazy that Bitcoin maxis aren't as good as the lowest man on our totem pole or the highest man, however it's measured. I can't remember anymore. But that says a whole lot, right? That says a whole lot of everything because that's what it's about. That's how it's about. It's about understanding the name of the game. It's not about anything else. So once you realize that, you start digging, you start finding the answers to your questions real quick. And this is why information is everything. I mean, imagine, never follow a blind man. They're not trying to help you in the first place. They're blind. They're just selling you some BS that ain't doing nothing for you. And that's how it typically works, unfortunately. But, fight it because it's easy to succumb to the BS. So easy. Almost done with the charts, guys. Just give me a second. Where is this? Damn thing? But that's where the power comes into play, right? It comes from you knowing that you know or don't know. If you don't know that you don't know, well, somebody's telling you and you're buying it, right? You're believing it. And as always, right, that's not what people are there for. So that's something that, has to be kept in mind because that's how you fall into these traps, right? And those traps are permanent sometimes because they can be mentally destabilizing. And that's not what people are there for. Like they're not, people are there to find success and whatnot. And again, that's found based on your understanding of what your goal is, not some dollar in your, not some dollar number in your bank account. Hold on, guys. All right. So yeah, gotta really be with your own program to get it right. You can't just be ready to just succumb to somebody else's desire. That just it's not how it works. So once you wrap your head around that, you start making your own choices. Life starts going really well for you because everything is predicated on what you find to be substantial. And that's all what we ultimately want, interestingly enough. Nobody really wants to not know, right? Or to not be in the right place at the right time, et cetera, et cetera. Like nobody wants that. Everybody wants it to just go right. Nobody wants hiccups. Nobody wants any of that, right? And this is what it's all about. It's not about anything else. Let's throw these in here. So, once we can wrap our heads around that type of stuff, everything changes. Everything. Because reality changes. Our perception is immediately altered because there is no negative, only positive. And that's what people ultimately want, right? So that's the importance in trying to attain that. Very easy to see, very easy to say, but very difficult to accomplish, right? And this is why the information is everything. Now let me get these charts ready for you guys. Let me make sure because data is everything. Data is everything. Data is everything. If you don't got the right data, man, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. Doesn't matter because unless you get lucky, information is gonna be wrong, right? And that ultimately isn't what people are trying to accomplish. So that's what it's all about. That right information, right? Because ultimately, that's what everybody wants. Nobody wants anything else. So gotta figure it out. My favorite 50 Cent song. That's an interesting question. There's a lot of dirt to 50 Cent songs, so I don't know. Gotta think about that one for a little bit. Because I was back in the day, so I'd say if anything, it would come from his Guess Who's Back album, not even his main commercial stuff. Because commercials cool, but that's really for the normies. That ain't for people that really rock with the music. Um, so let me see. What is my favorite 50 Cent song? I'll think about that one 'cause that's a good one. But yeah, you gotta really want to find the information that you need to help you make the right decision. And that is easier said than done because you got this whole world out here trying to tell you what's best for you. They don't know. They're lying. They are lying. No questions asked. They don't even care. That's how it goes, right? Like they don't even care. And that's how it works. Mm, that's ultimately how it works. So you gotta take it for what it is, right? Hmm. 50 bars is probably my favorite one from the 50 Cent joint. That or Rotten Apple. Guess who's back? So that answers that question. Um, but yeah, at the end of the day, people are trying to do what makes sense. You know, nothing else. So how do you get to that point, right? How do you get to that point where things make sense? It's almost impossible, right? And these are the kinds of things that um, you know, how do you find it? How do you find something that makes sense for you? That's almost impossible to even answer, right? And these are the things that you need to know. Those are the things you really need to know. And nobody has an answer for that. You know, that don't work. Gotta be an answer. Because that's how it works. So, oh man, this is pretty funny. A lot of OGs are afraid they walk out the dealership. I mean, I guess it depends, man. I don't know. Ain't nothing wrong with a Honda. Depends what your goal is with a car. If you're talking that big money and you walking out with a Honda, then yeah, you lying, you front. But if your goal is a Honda because that's what you like, you're not really front. So it just depends. That's what I would say. I'd say it depends. But besides that, yeah, a lot of these cats is front. but the market always knows. Market knows. Don't worry. The market always knows. Let's see here. Presentation two. All right, let's see if you get this. Yeah, the market always knows, right? So this is why it's important to understand when a point in time is just a point in time, because otherwise you can get left behind, right? And that's why information is everything. Because if you don't have that right set of information, you don't have anything at all. And that's how the cookie crumbles, whether you want it to or not. It doesn't really matter. Um, that's just how it crumbles. So, damn, what's this thing? So that's literally how it goes. Is as trivial as it sounds, right? Like things only happen when they're supposed to happen. They don't happen at any other point in time. So that's how you figure it out. Putting in the work. It always goes back to that. So mm, that is how that cookie crumbles. It's very easy, right, to make a claim. Very difficult to back it up. This is why people like test coins, right? They just release a coin on a test net. Like they don't even care because they know they're not gonna get it to be perfect, right? Like that's real. How do you fix that, right? It's almost impossible. You gotta really want to fix your situation to get your mind right. Doesn't happen any other way. So once you figure that out, there is no stopping you. It's just a matter of when, really, uh, and nothing else. Because at the end of the day, you're still making your decisions and all that, and that's what it boils down to. As always, right? Just like I've been telling you guys through the whole stream, it's really all about the decisions that you make. If you weren't watching the stream, you wouldn't know, right, about Hex. And then maybe if you did know, if there wasn't something you watched before then, it wouldn't have done you the justice, right? And that's what it's about. It's about doing the thing that's best for you. And now we go over these charts finally. All right. Let me inlay myself in this thing. Let me turn this banner off. And let me turn this off too. Where's this thing? All right. Feel you there, brother. So this chart, first chart, age comparison between Ethereum index, Bitcoin, and T-shares and Hex, right? So this chart is literally tracking the performance of each through the first 988 days of its existence, of each respective existence of each coin. And Hex is currently hugging, I guess, what you can consider the second deviation away from this log base 2 line. Because it's right on log base 10, which is what Ethereum is. And as you can see, the brown line is Ethereum's power trend line, and this gold line is the T-shares power trend line. Hold on, guys. Alrighty. So, I mean, old resistance, new support. So, pretty much what's going on here. As soon as the market clears out that inventory that's being dumped by the geniuses that don't understand what they own, then, market just continues to trend higher. But as you guys can see, the pink line, or this dull pink line here, is Bitcoin. Um, and it's pulling back right now, but it ran up. That's after its first halving or something. Or, no, this is after the pizza transaction. So this is the first run it had. And this is the first pullback it had. The yellow line is HEX. The magenta line is T-shares, and the orange line is Ethereum. As you guys can see, Ethereum at the beginning just kind of stair-stepped higher. A lot of sideways, a little downside, but just always higher over time, right? So Ethereum can do that. Bitcoin can do that. And HEX is designed to do that. Well, choice seems pretty clear, because look at what HEX did way before these coins even got it right. I mean, it took HEX 800 days plus just to fall below Ethereum and Bitcoin since its launch. And that was what, after 90 days of its existence? It just took off and never came back for 800 days. Something to think about when you're considering what value is, right? Because value is what you get, price is what you pay. And if the delta is big enough in your favor, then you never lose. All right, here we got HEX after launch phase, which is also known as post-big payday. We're 649 days in. Oh, hold on, guys. I just realized I didn't explain something. So why are we 1,000 days in, but yet this says 988 days? So at the beginning, HEX was only listed on one exchange, and or on one charting service, and that charting service upgraded and deleted the data, so that data doesn't exist. So we don't have it, and that's why. So now we got this chart, 649 days after launch phase ended. As you guys can see, HEX just took off after launch phase, which is what you saw here. Then it started dropping and finally hit that 95, 92% threshold down here. And we've just been holding steady ever since, chopping sideways. And if you've been watching me for a while, then you knew this is what was going to happen, because I explained how and why. And sentiment, psychological, right? Sentiment, how people think about it, how people view the market. This point in time, right, was the time at which everybody was waiting for 1 cent. Still got people waiting for 1 cent. Good luck to them. Now this chart is comparing HEX to the first Bitcoin halving, the second Bitcoin halving, and the third. The first is in orange, the second is in blue, and the third is in green. Now what you'll notice is that HEX just blew out the, just blew them all out the water up until it started getting sold off, right? Because people started dumping because they weren't staked like they said they were. So we're currently only above the most recent Bitcoin halving, which means that we're still outperforming Bitcoin since May 11th, 2020. Something to chew on. Because these maxis sure do like to talk a lot of smack, but the fact of the matter is that their coin is underperforming HEX since the last Bitcoin halving in a major way. Now that says a lot about the present state of Bitcoin and what it requires to get it to lift up, right? Because everybody wants to show Bitcoin like it's this magical thing, when in fact it's old, it's done, it's decrepit, it's nothing else is going to come from that, right? It's like saying Microsoft got the next best thing. I think in 2022, we all know Microsoft ain't got nothing for us except viruses, some malware and spyware, so and adware. So let's all wake up. As you guys can see, Hex came out the gate gunning and is just now taking his first breather. Just now. Hey, if you guys got any questions, let me know. Because after these charts, we'll wrap it up. I didn't even think I was gonna go this long. It's just pretty crazy. So we got the T-share to BCT and BTC and T-share to Ethereum. Now what you're seeing is a value proposition of T-share doing what it does, which is maintaining its value. Right. This is literally since inception. The lowest point was day 33, which is what you're seeing here. Right. This is the value, 0.5%, T-share versus an ETH, and 0.1%. I'm sorry, 100%, T-share versus Bitcoin. Now T-share versus Bitcoin is at 5.5%. T-share versus Ethereum is at 84%. And this is on a 95% pullback, 90%, 80%, whatever you want to call it. It's on a pullback. Not looking too shabby, right, for a pullback. Because you guys got to remember, T-shares are what allows Hex to exist. Because Hex is a bonding token design. It has a bonding curve token design, excuse me. And these are things that are important to remember because this is what keeps those that understand crypto in Hex religiously. Because it works and we understand how it works and why it works. It's not about it being called Hex. It's about the design of the coin, what it does, and the fact that it does it. So anytime you hear somebody talking about Hex Maxi and you don't fit that bill and you feel like, spitting in their face, give them some facts. That's the best way to spit in somebody's face. It doesn't even require you to do anything physical. It's very simple. It's very light. It's very easy. Nobody can stop it. Nobody can stop you, right? The facts are the facts. Now, here we got this chart that I made that has 10,000 hex in dollar terms in this dull pink. T-shares in yellow, dollar terms. APY in orange. Percentage of stake coins in blue, and the T-share rate in magenta. You guys can see 23,281.4 is the current T-share rate. Now, what's interesting, which is what a lot of people don't understand about Hex, is how the T-share is pointing up, but the Hex price is pointing down. That is what I would call counterintuitive, right? That's counterintuitive. That doesn't even make sense. Now, how in the hell does that happen? Right? I mean, everybody's so smart, but I've never heard anybody talk about this. How does that happen? Hmm. It's called math, folks. This is how that happens. And if you don't understand the math, you can't spot the obvious. And I'll tell you what, nothing is hiding out here. Nothing. And this is why it's very important to understand that you make your own bed. So you have to be comfortable laying in it, right? T-shirt dollar cost is up Yet the cost of 10,000 hex or the price of hex is down. It almost doesn't make sense, but that's exactly why the T-share rate exists. It's so that you always win, not so that you always lose. Once you get that about the system, there is no going back. You are now in the full position of understanding or comprehending, even better, because you don't want to stand under anything. You want to comprehend something. Very important distinction, because it's very easy to think you know, but do you? Right? This is what life is all about. We are presented these challenges because we're either doing something right or wrong. I mean, I can't count the number of times that I run into the same issue because I wouldn't change my reaction to something in regards to that issue. And that was the world teaching me about being wrong and making the right change so that that thing can stop happening, because there's no other way it works. So when you see something like this, where the dollar value of the T-share is up, but the dollar value of Hex is down, you should probably ask yourself, how the hell does that happen? Because this should be pretty clear. You know, it's funny. Here's a pro tip, crust marketing. Never conflate, or for whoever takes this as a negative, right? Because it's easy to think that the price of Hex not performing in line with the T share is a negative. What you have to understand is that a market is a market, right? And people comprise a market. The T share is the blockchain. That's the math in the system. And what happens is that if you don't comprehend that, yeah, no, yeah, no, for sure. I wasn't trying to call you out, so I'm sorry if it seemed that way. I'm just trying to highlight something important, because it's important that people understand that yes, it does look like it's not catching up, because basically the T-share, the price of X should be up here compared to the T-share, because it's recovered that loss, right? That's basically what it's showing. It came down, recovered that loss, so it's the price of X should basically be at 5 cents, but it's not, right? So what I want people to understand is that this is a point in time that presents opportunity, because the price of Hex is being distorted by the market in conjunction with what's actually happening on the blockchain. This is critical, right? Because somebody could see that, look at this chart, see this disconnect, and be like, well, price isn't catching up, and not realize that this is just an opportunity. So thank you for making that comment, Crest Marketing. So don't want you to think I was trying to call you out, brother, but it's critical, because that's important. That's the difference between taking advantage of an opportunity and not, right there in real time. Because the T-shirt rate is still 23,281.4 or higher. It's not lower, never goes lower. It only stays the same or increases. So somebody is trying to give you an opportunity. And where's the price at? 40128, 40182. So it's a little higher now than when I recorded it for 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, aka 0000 UTC, right? So we're a little bit higher now than we were a couple of hours ago. That's not to say we won't go lower, but it's something for you to be aware of. The market's at an inflection point, a very important one. So it's important to watch. Now, here we have a chart highlighting the increase in the T-share rate in linear terms. So anytime the line takes a jagged edge and it connects a dot, it makes a line, right? So we just came from down here, which was a 32 increase, a 32 hex increase or so, or 28 looks like, or so increase in the T-share rate. And then it went up to above that because it's above that up here, right? When you go left, it's above that. And then we're just below. So we went from high 20s to above 30 to above 30 again. So that's 100 hex basically in 3 moves. I mean, yo, this is happening in real time. And people are still wondering when they should stake their hex. Crazy. Crazy. The inflation from the system. Great topic I love to talk about. 3.69. That's the systemic inflation, meaning this is what the system is designed to put out. If the system is staked at 100% capacity, which it is not, it is staked at, as we saw earlier, 9.6 or so, right below that. So that means that the system can't generate this high of an inflation, 3.69. And this is what we're seeing. In fact, since the end of the launch phase, the system has only done 2.76% as of today. And it's deferred almost 1%. But as you guys see, this is a crisscross metric. Now, how am I getting this number? Well, we can only really see what the system is minting. We cannot see what's not being minted. What's being minted is what's being deferred. So what's being deferred is what's being restaked, and what's being minted is what people are actually putting in their wallet. Whether they restake it or not is not a question. What we do know is that it's being minted, and this is what we see, and that's what we're trying to track. The real minting. So if you're pressing end stake, it's hitting the blotter, and I'm picking it up. And that's all. You can restake it, and that's fine. But the great news is that we're still 93 bips away, 93 basis points away from hitting that full measure of what the system is supposed to do. And we're 1,000 days in. 1,000. Now, you guys got to understand, before this point in time, the end of launch phase, the system wasn't really producing inflation. It only really started producing it after the end of launch phase. So this is why I only track it post launch phase, which is also known as post big payday. So this is very important to wrap your head around. Because back in those days, T-shares weren't paying you anything. They were paying 4 hex or less. That's it. It's not the gargantuan 6 plus that we get nowadays. Oh no. And the price of hex was less than a cent, so it wasn't even pretty looking when you did the math. Right? Nowadays you can at least make double digit dollar numbers daily if you got 100 T-shares, right? That's just 100 T-shares times the price of hex multiplied by the number of hex that you're getting paid out. So if T-share per payout is 6 and you got 100 T-shares, that's 600 hex multiplied by the price. So if it's 5 cents, that's 600 hex times 5 cents, that's $30. Not bad for doing nothing. You're just sitting there. And that's just that 5 cents. Once it 10x's, that's $300 a day. So, understand this is crypto. It doesn't stay at 5 cents. So this is important. So deferred interest just means that it hasn't been minted yet. This is just a measure of inflation across time. So if you staked at any point in time where it ended past day 359 and before day 1000, even though you restaked it, the system counted it as minted. So that gets added on to the cumulative inflation metric. Does that make sense? So even though it was just an instance in time, that inflation did get minted. It did actually happen. So we're recording that to be as such. What the market does as a result of that is a function of how humans interact with the network. And that's a function of what the person decides to do. That's not a function of anything else, unfortunately. So this is why price is down, right? Because people decide to sell. And that's it. All right, so here we got the value proposition, also called the T-share payout. And this orange line is just the sum aggregate of those payouts over time. So if you've been staked in HEX with one T-share since day one, you've made 4,872 and a half HEX. Simple. Now, you might be wondering, well, what does this look like in percentage terms? Well, get ready to lose it because it's ridiculous. 442,000%. That's what it looks like. Imagine doing nothing and just making 442,000%. How many people can make that claim? I'll wait because nobody. Oh, well, you figure it out. I like this. Now, it's cool to be able to talk crap because the math is the entity doing all the work. I'm just talking. What I say actually doesn't even matter. Hey, congrats to you, Dank Memes, because he's saying started buying Hex in 2019 and DCAing every month, which is much respect. A lot of guys aren't doing that, and they've been there since day one. And you buying $500, $2,000 a month worth, and it's staking, or maybe 500 to 2,000 Hex a month, and you're just staking it 5, 10 years. I mean, this is the thing. And he retired. Shout out to you, man. The system is so pliable. The question becomes, what can you do that you can't do? I mean, it's almost like you decide. And that's the entire point of it. You got the option of 5,555 days upon which you can stake your Hex. And then nowadays, we got Hedron behind it, giving us some additional yield in B share terms. And that thing is a beast that people did not understand. They're just not understanding it because Alex threw some Icosa in there, which is cool because it soups it up. So I ain't mad. But they didn't understand it from the jump. And that's a fact. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I hope they put in the work to understand the big picture because there's no excuses in the real world. The real world doesn't care what your preferences are, it only cares what the results are. And that's a fact. That's why, there's a saying in the trading world that goes that, you got these bankers, right? These bankers give so much care to their card. In the trading world, card is irrelevant. The only card that matters is your bank account, that debit card, right? Whatever number you got in your bank account, that's the card that matters because that is what lends you the time that you need to do what you got to do. That's what allows you to make moves, right? I mean, it's crazy, but that's how it works. So, yellow line, magenta line. Magenta line is a daily payout index. This line is measuring what the system is doing, right? And now the interesting thing that I want you guys to notice, which is the same as a yellow line, is that there's only upside volatility. And what that means is that surprises only happen to the upside. That means that if you're staked, there's only a baseline and very good. There's no in between. Baseline or very good. That's it. Okay. Same thing for the payout per T-share index, which is this yellow line. It's showing you what's happening to your T-share payout. And as you guys can see, it's only upside volatility. This one-time downside volatility was for big payday, and that was to box out all the people that were trying to get a free double or whatever the case was, excuse me, from the system for big payday. And the OA came in, hooked up the stakers by staking out all the losers that would have dumped HEX down to the floor. Because a lot of people were just trying to come in here, get a free, quick coin payout, and dump it the next day. That's all they were trying to do. Word up. Because that's how it works, right? You out here and you're paying yourself. Nobody's paying you. Hold on, guys. All right. Always party time where I live. I'll tell you that much. All right. So this chart, everybody gets paid. And I'm covering the averages for all in yellow, 28 days in orange, and 55 days in magenta. And as you guys can see, with that 13.2 hex payout, right, the average is, of course, going to jump. Now, the interesting thing is, to me, is this all-time average. I love how the hex price just respects it, doesn't move. You know, for all we know, price is just waiting for this thing to take some crazy turn up like it did here before it just takes off again. I don't know. Prices do weird things, right? The market does weird things. We'll see how this thing shapes up. You know, you drown out the noise, man. I actually grew up right by a train. Like where I grew up, my building was right on top of a train where I grew up at. So like underground train. So you felt that damn thing when you was awake. But at night, didn't hear it, didn't feel it. Didn't even matter. I mean, you just get used to it after time, basically. You just ignore it. Seems almost impossible, but it's true. Hell, when I was in the desert, let's just say I could be a heavy sleeper sometimes. Leave it right there. Oh, this motherfucker. All right. Hex payout metrics, right? We got total T-share count in orange at the bottom, 10.4 million. We got daily payout in yellow, which you can't really see because it's being overshadowed by the payout per T-share in magenta. But as I explained earlier, or the previous chart, or the chart before this one, excuse me, upside volatility reigns supreme in our world. And what that means is that the surprises only come in a positive fashion for us. You know, nowadays, the average is 6 point something, right? For a long time, it was 5 point something, as you guys can see here, right? It was below 6. That's what this is showing. This is in between 5 and 6 right here. So this whole range, right? We're all below 6 here, below 5 here, or in 5 here, right? Right here, we get into the below 5 range. And as you guys can see, this is big payday. I got in right around here. By the time I started staking, I think the payout was already 4 because I had figured it out. Maybe right before it changed from 3 to 4. Maybe I got some 3 9s or something like that. But I don't remember a lot of 3s. I remember a lot of 4s though. And as you guys can see, back in the day, the average was 3s up into 4s, right? And this is what we're seeing here. But now, well, these are on 28 and 55 days. Sorry, the actual average all time was down here. But now we're up here, right? I mean, if you look at the average during this time when it was just traversing 3 into 4, going into 5, the all time was 2 plus down here, going into 3. Now we're at 4, 8, 5, damn near, and ranging at 6.5. So what do we got here? 2 to 3 going 3 to 5, and we're going really, it's take quite a while, right? When you think about it. I'm just trying to think of something here. Because if you think about the trajectory from 3 to 5, or I'm sorry, from 2 to 3 on the all time average relative to the daily averages going from 3 to 5, it took probably about a couple hundred days to 150 days, right? Maybe Big Payday helped snap that, right? To so quickly. But if you look at from 4 to where we are now, which is not 5 yet, right? We're going on 400 plus days, right? Yeah. And that in turn has kept and raised the payout per T-share in an elevated fashion because consistently it's staying up here and the market is reflecting that, right? I mean, you got to think this is lending some support in some way to the market. Good question, brother. Let me explain how the trust works. Number one, the Hex Investment Trust is a private thing that is for accredited investors. Number two, how it works is that the accredited investor either sends us fiat or hex. That is then converted into units of the trust, which are non redeemable for now. um, at that point, you now own those units of that trust. They are yours, they are nobody else's. So there are no keys, there's no crypto here. This is literally a tool that's meant to onboard outsiders. It's not even for hexagons. So buy hex instead. If you want to give us hex, that's fine. We'll take it. But there's a KYC process. You have to be an accredited investor. That has to be verified. There's a whole thing. Like this is some SEC regulated thing that I built. So there's a process to it. But no keys here. You're literally getting a securitized product that's reflecting the value of hex in the market. That is all. Now, here's a sounding call to all of you watching the stream and share this out there. You know, everybody should be talking to their normie friends about this Hex Investment Trust because it's just like the Bitcoin grayscale, except for that there is no discount here. Oh no, we don't allow that. No, no, no. We're in line. We don't do discounts here. Uh, them over there, those grayscale people, they're playing games that we're not playing. They're not doing real crypto things, whereas we are. So have your friends talk about this. This is how you onboard normies into crypto is by having them talk about real world things that they can touch. These people can touch these units of this trust. They can't touch that Hex crypto. But we can introduce them to this Hex crypto once they invest some capital in this trust, experience these returns, and realize they are fucking up by not being exposed to the crypto. That's the point of this trust. This is the best way to circumvent the gatekeepers. Because once this thing is on a ticker, when it goes public and it's ringing all kind of bells because it's just skyrocketing in ways that people can't understand, you better believe gatekeeping is not going to be a thing. Period. It's going to be a thing of the past. Going to have all manner of fools talking about hex. Will they be staked? Who knows? But they'll be talking about it, that's for sure. So that's the point of the trust. So if you're watching this stream, please let all your accredited investor friends know this thing is available to them. Just like you got there, HEX.INFO is the site. They can inquire, fill out the questionnaire, whichever one works for them, and learn about what's going on in this new age world of finance because it is leaving a lot of people behind, unfortunately. Don't let your friends and family get left behind just because it's crypto. There is an avenue of approach for them, and it's called HEX.INFO. So hook them up. Let everybody know it's a thing. Upside volatility. It's a thing. Correlation. R squared means how strong the correlation is. +1 means strong, meaning in tandem. 1. -1 means not at all. 0 means, I'm sorry, -1 means completely opposite. 0 means not at all. So 3 zeros and a 2, Ethereum versus Hex, not at all. Ethereum on the y-axis, Hex on the x-axis, and each dot is representing a return on each plane. The x plane is going horizontally, the y plane is going vertically. So this would be like 100% hex return on the x-axis versus a what 4% return, 5% return for Ethereum on the y-axis. Versus Bitcoin, this is the same thing. This is 3 zeros and a 5. So zero correlation. All time now. Okay, entire history. And again, this would be 100% for Hex and 0% or 1 or whatever for Bitcoin. And that's how you read that chart. So there's a whole bunch in here because that's just usually how it works. But overall, correlation is 0. Roller correlations, Hex versus T-share, fiat value, very important. The beginning of the launch phase, or the beginning and the end of the launch phase, this wasn't, 1, right? But now across the board for 21, 34, and 55 days, it is 1, and it needs to remain that way because that's how we ensure that Hex turns up when it no longer has a choice. Meaning people got to buy too many Hex to get one T-share. And that's it. And yes, Hex Investment Trust does do self-directed IRAs for those that are interested as accredited investors, of course. RI multiplier from the all-time low, 708 times on a 90% pullback. Hilarious. From the all-time low. Total value lock, 2.5 billion. Very good. Now this is just the amount of Hex in dollar terms that's staked. That's all that this chart is. Current holders, 309,000. Keeps going up. Network effect. It's going to do its due. Current stakers, 106,116. We're probably at 107,000 by now because this data is, relatively stale. So, this is all positive upside pressure. This is circulating supply displacement. What this means is that it's now essentially 2 times harder to get Hex than it was before. That's what that means. So, for those of you waiting for 1 cent, good luck. Stakers. Now, this chart is highlighting where we're at in terms of personnel and what they're doing in Hex. This yellow line is stakers versus holders, and we're currently at about 34, 35% there. Orange line is current versus total holders. Good thing is we're getting rid of the weak hands. That's how you really build up a strong chart, right? Because the people entering aren't letting go. Now, the interesting thing is that the current versus total stakers number is increasing, not decreasing. At this point in time, that's crucial because that's what you want to see when you're near a bottom. People figuring out what they have to do in order to support the system accordingly and themselves, because that's the whole point. You benefit the most from not selling something. Berkshire Hathaway chart, right? That's probably the best example. Hold on. 1 month. Bam. Let's put this bad boy on log. There you go. It's a hell of a chart. All them folks did was direct reinvestment plans. From 235 all the way to now. That's all they're doing, and they're all rich as hell. 544,000 per share. And if you think they're spending any of that money, you don't know a damn thing about anything. They all live on credit, and they keep getting new credit lines every year. This is just how the system works, folks. Back to this. Anyway, so yeah, this goes up. Important. Now, how do you generate this ROI in this staking pool or when you stake Hex? Well, it's a function of the capacity in the system, and the capacity in the system is a function of the coins that exist. So all the coins that exist are 581 billion, blah blah blah, plus the coins that are staked, right? So 620 something billion. So the reality is once you remove all the coins that were sacked, you cut that in half. So those are all the coins that are available to actually stake at one point in time or another. So the supply actually went from 623 billion minus 350 million. That's where we're at. That's 273 billion coins. So actually, let me not do that. Sorry about that, guys. Divide that by 623. That means the floor, the rate floor is 44% basically. So that means that Hex essentially, the yield on it, the lowest it could go is 8%. Well, really higher than 8.2, but you guys get my drift. Based on all that stake text that is never going to see the light of day, that is the floor. Now, if only 10% of the community is staked, or people that own Hex is staked, then the yield is 36.9. And today it was 38 point something. So that means only 9.5 or so are staked, right? Because it's about halfway in between 41 and 37. That'd be 38 and a half or so. 38.75, right? But if that 350 million does concretely stay away as intended, because they were sacrificed, they're never to see the market again, then that means 44%, i.e., 8% is the floor, 8.5, whatever you want to call it. That's the ROI floor for Hex. And that's how it works. Crazy, but true. So that's all we got today, guys. If you guys got any questions, throw them my way right now. Give you guys about 5 minutes or whatever. If you don't got none, all good too. Appreciate you guys staying tuned in this whole time. Hope what I said made some sense. Because it's important that it does. Understand that the blockchain is strictly what dictates the future of all this stuff. Not emotions, not opinions, not any of that stuff that people like to lean on. Just facts and figures and software. So if you guys don't got any questions, I'll wrap it up. Make sure I didn't miss nothing. Nope. Looking like I'm all good. Yeah, it's funny. It is a lot of paperwork. Yeah, because you got to realize this is all brand new. And everybody, they like to pretend like everything is streamlined in legacy, but it's not. It's all bifurcated to a certain extent on purpose because that's how everybody maintains their position of power, their monetary spigot, right? Everything can't be just easy for you to move from one to the other. They got to put up walls and make sure that you really want to make that move so that they can continue to make their money. So, good eye. Because, yeah, that's what's going on there. But, yeah. So, all right, guys. If you guys don't got any questions, thank you guys for tuning in. Happy 1,000 days of flawless 100% HEX.com cryptocurrency uptime created by Richard Hart and team. Kyle Dev, all those guys that did the great work to create Hex that we've so kindly benefited off of. Learn it, understand it. You got Hedron that was built on the back of that. If you understand Hex, you're best served learning how Hedron works. Because eventually, Hex ain't going to be just floating around for you to just snatch up. I'm worrying about this for a long time. Those days getting closer by the day. Learn sooner rather than later. Peace. Oh, wait. Let me see. Oh, got questions. I don't know what you mean by that. Pulse chain idea? I don't have any pulse chain idea. Um, let's see. Price would be. No, not really. Cause that doesn't mean all the hex is staked. That's the funny thing. Cause you got to take into account all the hex that hasn't been minted. It's a lot of stakes. Minting 3x. Question is, well, not really, but there's a lot of stakes minting, right? Question is, what are they gonna do with that hex? Because T-shirt rate only goes up. So if they don't ever continue, if they don't sell it, then the trajectory for Hex is similar to that of a Berkshire Hathaway stock, an Amazon stock, or Google stock. That's the trajectory for it, not even a Bitcoin chart. It's going to be completely different. It's already ahead of that. And it's very difficult for people to accept that, but that's where we're at. So, and yeah, we pretty much are. I mean, this is only day 1,000. Bitcoin's been around for 13 years. So, that's more than 1,000 days. Um, interesting question. You can go to my man Crispy's site, hexfire.io. It has a whole bunch of that type of information on there. It's just about the t-shirt rate. But long story short, it's about the ROI and the stake. The bigger the ROI and the stake, then the more the hex rate is going to jump. And if that hex rate jumps relative to the existing one, even 0.1 more than the older one, then it's going to change. If it doesn't, then it doesn't change. But it's all based on the stakes that are ending. Simply put. Hope that answers your question. So how do you see the stakes that are ending? You gotta do all this blockchain analysis that I have zero interest in. So if you do, go to hexfire.io because Crispy got the hookup with all the shortcuts for that. Put the link in the chat. That's a difficult one, right? Because that's all my personal wants and whatnot. And I'm just working towards what I'm working towards, and that's just fixing the money because I really understand that well, along with economics and all that good stuff. I'm trying to help in that regard. In the real world, I don't really care about the internet. But the internet, the information on it is dictated by us, right? And that's been kind of my message since day one. A lot of people don't get that. A lot of people think that they are subservient to somebody with millions of followers or some shit. I don't know. That's their problem. But I know I'm the number one in my realm. Nobody understands macro and crypto like me, period. I know that for a fact because I'm the only one talking about both. So I don't need to listen to nobody else because those guys need to figure out this that they haven't figured out yet. And you guys are in the same bucket. That's the thing you don't want to understand or respect about yourself. So what I would want is for people to realize that they're ahead of the curve, that they are number one, and that they don't have to care what a bitch boy says or what a corner ranking site says or all those things, because they don't actually matter. They don't. But with Pulse Chain, it really put the barrier to entry so low that now the noise level within the community is so much higher. So it's on all the OG hexagons, not just some of us, to lay the law down. It can't just be some of us. It got to be all of us. So in order for the community to be what it once was, you would have to have a lot of people saying, yo, none of that furu shit. But that furu shit flies in a lot of cases now. So don't know. Can't say it, man. Can't call it. Wish I could, though. Wish I could. I know I'll be representing number one status forever. I'm number one. Hex is number one. I don't care what anybody else is doing. Don't matter what they're doing. They're not doing what I'm doing. They're not doing what you're doing. So who cares what they're doing? So simple. It's so simple. Everybody's behind us. And very few understand that. Very few. They're looking behind, hoping that they're going to catch up. Imagine that. Stop looking in the rear view. Look forward. Peace. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's the secret. The guy well told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. Shit, motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Trust
that.
us. 100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. I mean, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Yash deep, everybody. My God. Hex Asians